the gap between the dates where the weight actually progresses. By forcing you to take the weight again for a different rep range for several sessions, depending on how you program it. And by doing that, yes, it slows you down, absolutely, but it also forces you to stay in relevant intensity windows and repping that same weight again and again. Then you jump. So by definition, this means that this practice is going to lengthen linear progression. And the reason why I want you to do that, and I really encourage you to do that if you're a novice, is that it's going to teach you very good habits that are going to make linear periodization much easier, because essentially what constitutes linear periodization is the idea that you're not going to be able to progress from session to session, and therefore you're going to put in place different mechanisms to make sure that progression still occurs, but with less frequency. And for all of the time, this is going to be volume and intensity manipulation, where your volume and intensity are going to fluctuate to allow for peaks of strength and for progression to continue. I've detailed that in the hypertrophy series a ton. This is what bodybuilders should refer to as tonnage progression. Again, the values and metrics we use determine the practice that we apply and follow. We don't care about the strength, we care about the number of pounds we lift. And since this is going to keep rising as you progress, you want that to continue. And since you also are going to be more experienced because of your practice of evolving rep ranges during linear progression, it's going to be made easy. If you have watched any amount of my programming videos, you might have already understood why I don't talk about progression schemes. It's because they're already included in what I preach. If you have applied evolving rep ranges, if you have done any type of programs I put out, you are already doing linear periodization. Besides my novice programs, and even the novice programs include that. And it's not necessary for novices, I 100% agree, but I like to put some little drops of it in there to get you used to it, because as I said, the thermic shock that you're going to experience when you're going to have to stop that, like daydream, like I want to call it like a dream state progression of being able to put weight on the bar every single session, to having to now think about volume and intensity, which you've most likely never heard of, is going to be brutal. And I want to ease you into it. So you're going to be, as a trainee, someone who's going to have a longer linear progression, you're going to have a slower strength progression, but you're going to jump into the linear periodization part of your training, which is going to be the rest of your career pretty much, with not only the knowledge of the how-to, but also more volume. This is what kills a lot of intermediates. They come from novice programs with almost no volume that just push the intensity again and again with low rep ranges, and they are just thrown in the deep basin of linear periodization programs where they're just shoveled underneath tons and tons of volume that their body just cannot handle. For you, you're going to be able to handle it. So as you enter that new stage, this is what, in my opinion, constitutes the best practice for bodybuilding, because it's linear. There's a lot of discussion around linear progression everywhere on this platform because it sounds too good to be true. The idea that you can just steadily progress at some point looks like a fantasy. It starts looking like you should actually do something different, something that